The Queen is already dead. Oh, do not look so startled. She simply hasn't stopped breathing yet. That part comes later. The Queen has not merely fallen. She has been most delicately escorted toward her ruin, with smiles, soft voices, and knives hidden behind backs. Tell me this, my dear. How does a woman sit crowned beside the king one moment, and the next be spoken of like an unfortunate mistake? Though, I will say, I have seen worse mistakes survive longer than a queen in favor. And whilst you were watching the accusations against those poor doomed men, the real performance was happening elsewhere, behind closed doors, tighter than a miser's purse. The story was being stitched together. Not for truth, oh no, but for convenience. And where does one hear the most honest lies? Not court. Never court. No, one must go where truth slips out wearing perfume and poor decisions. To the velvet-draped rooms of Madame Seraphine Vale and her establishment, the Second Sin. There, between laughter and low candlelight, men who never spared Anne a second glance suddenly spoke as if they had studied her character. Oh, it is quite remarkable. How quickly a woman becomes well understood once she is no longer protected. One gentleman, whose confidence far exceeds his intelligence, murmured this: "It is unfortunate, but necessary." Did I hear that right? Did he say necessary? As if we're trimming hedges, not dismantling a queen. And whilst all of this righteous concern blooms overnight, there is Jane, our sweet, silent, carefully agreeable Jane, who has not only mastered the art of saying nothing, she has become the king's everything. Really, the church mouse stands so still she could be mistaken for decoration. And yet the king looks at her like she's the answer to all of his woes. I've seen more personality in a loaf of bread, and yet none have risen quite so successfully. Now, mark this well. Accusations are only the beginning. But once the story is agreed upon by all those involved, those who decide what is true, then truth itself is no longer required. Only what is useful. Then all of a sudden, Anne is no longer a wife nor a queen. And as we all know by now, she has become the problem. And problems, especially clever, inconvenient, breathing ones, are not debated. They're simply erased. Now, let us come to the grand spectacle, the trial. And I use that word very generously, because this is less a trial and more a performance where everyone already knows their lines. The verdict is decided before a single word is spoken. The charges are outrageous, impossible, almost laughable, really. And yet no one laughs, because everyone understands the assignment. George Boleyn, her own brother, he's dragged into it because, well, why not? At this point, accusations are being handed out like cups of wine, freely, generously, and without consequences. At this rate, I half expect Lord Thorn to be accused as well. though I assure you, no woman would volunteer for that particular tragedy. Witnesses speak, or rather, perform. Memories are sharpened and loyalties are adjusted. Convenient truths delivered with ever so solemn faces. And Anne, sharp, quick, far too perceptive for her own safety, she must defend herself against a story that has already been finalized. And here lies the cruelest twist. She speaks well, actually too well, with wit, reason, and fire. Every word she gives in her defense only reminds them why she must fall. A clever woman may be dangerous, but a clever woman who has lost favor? That is plainly intolerable. So, her accusers listen to her truthful testimony, but they don't hear her over their wicked and vile slander. They're dreadful men with small minds, matching the size of their codpieces. The result of this farcical trial? Condemnation, of course, as if there were any doubt. And just like that, a crown slips and a fate is sealed. The queen is undone, not by proof, but by agreement by all the men involved in the lies and deception. So tell me, was she judged, or just simply in the way of things? Think on it well, my dear. And whilst you still draw breath, remember to keep your crown straight and your head attached.